This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going to be hiding throughout the streets. We're going to be going through alleyways at night. We're going to be using the boat to travel over. We're going to be trying to get away from the investigators. Well, half of us are, because today we're going to be looking at Whitehall Mystery. This is sort of a re-implementation in a streamlined version of its bigger brother, Letters From Whitechapel from Fantasy Flight Games. This one is for 2 to 6 players. The box says 60 minutes. Let's take a look and then I'll talk about this and versus its big brother. In Whitehall Mystery, one player will be Jack the Ripper, trying to commit 4 murders without getting caught, while the other player or players play the investigators, trying to catch them throughout the city. Now the Jack player will get this big shield. Now behind the shield is a secret mat where there will be writing which locations are out through the game, and it has the map showing the entire board so they can look at it without showing their eyes to the other player as to where they're looking. Jack is going to select 4 white circles on the board that they are selecting for the 4 secret places that they'll go to throughout the game. The order has no effect. You don't have to go these in any order. He or she can go to them in any order. Now you notice the board is basically 4 grids. From the 4 numbers Jack's selecting, it has to be from the white circles. 1 in this quadrant, 1 in this quadrant, 1 in this quadrant, and 1 in this quadrant. Then the cops, the investigators, will place their 3 on any of the total of 3 yellow markers there. Once that's set up, Jack will put the number in gray of one of the 4 numbers. This is where Jack is starting and the first murder happened. So he'll place it like this. That's where the first murder happened. And then he gets to move from there. Now when Jack moves, Jack can only move 1. He must move 1. He can't stay still. And he's going to go to any one of the next adjacent numbers. So from here, he could go to 23, 22, 20, or 4. That's the only options he has on his first turn. So for his first move, he goes to 22. So this is secret information, so all he does is basically move here, showing that his first movement is done. Now the investigator or investigators, if there's less than 3 people, they split the roles. If it's just 2 players playing, the one investigator will run all 3 of these. You must do them in this priority order. Yellow must move first, then blue, then red. Each of these have a special ability that can be used once per game. And going in that order, they can move 0, 1, or 2. So let's go to the yellow go 0, 1, or 2, they'll go 2. And if they want, they can start asking for clues for any adjacent number here that's not blocked by a crossing. So they could say, have you been to 89? Of course, at this point, it's no. But if, as the game goes on, you'll be asking more and more. If they say yes, you would place a yellow clue marker here to show that, yes, they've been near that run. And then this player's turn would end as soon as they get a clue. They can't get multiples. If they want to, they could also try to arrest and say, I'm going to arrest space 90 right now. And if that player is there, Jack's there, the game is over. If he's trying to look for a clue and he says, have you been to 89? And if Jack is actually standing, he just says yes, because you weren't trying to arrest, and a clue would go there. Of course, he's not there now, but that's basically how it works. And then after the yellow, they do the blue, and then the red moves 0 to 2, and possibly ask for clues until you find one that's adjacent, or try to arrest. So again, Jack is trying to get to the other 3 numbers in any order, started on 5. Let's say over the course of the game, he got to 146 by turn 7. After the investigators have moved that turn, Jack will then tell them that they have done another killing. Now, he's done one here and he's done one up in the upper right. So the investigator knows that from there, Jack's going to have to kill either here or here. So let's say over the next round, at the end of that round, by the time he's gone maybe up to 15 turns, Jack is able to kill again, and he does at 48. So at this point, maybe they were sort of finding clues, they were moving around, and maybe at this point, Jack did the second to last killing here, and then they know that Jack is going to have to kill in this last area for the last round. Now after every movement Jack's moving, if he does not get to any of his hideouts by the end of the 15th turn, he automatically loses, so he can't just hang around too long. Now Jack has some special tricks up his sleeve. He has 2 of each of these tiles, a coach, a boat, and an alley light. Now let's say he was moving. He would use this coach. The coach allows him to move 2, and it's the only time that Jack can move through any of the investigators. So he would actually write down both numbers, the first one in 7 and the second one in 8, and allows him to really escape fast. The boat allows him to move from any of these blue numbers to another blue number within the same body of water. An alleyway allows him to move. You see this is like a neighborhood block. For example, he can move from 134 all the way through this alleyway to 100, where normally it would take him 2 moves. He could do it in 1 with the alley. However, the Investigator has tricks up their sleeves as well. When they use these, they flip them over. Let's go over what these do. The yellow player can bring any of the other 2 Investigators to any crossing spot next to them. However, that player that was moved cannot do anything else that turn. The blue player is able to move a boat, just like Jack is able to. And the red player, just like Jack, can use an alley once per game. But whenever using those, the blue and the red Investigator, that's in addition to their normal move, but after they do it, they cannot arrest or look for clues. There's also Smoker the dog that allows the yellow player to move 1 additional crossing, so up to 3 once per game, or they can continue to ask for clues after they've found them. Usually you have to stop, but again, that's once per game. All right, well, there's Whitehall Mystery. Now, I gotta say, Letters from Whitechapel, last time I did my top 100 was in my top 10. I think it was like number 3. I love that game to death because I love deduction, and that game just hits all cylinders for me. It's much longer than a game that I typically like, but man, do I love it. So with that perspective, let's take a look. Now, this uses that great Whitechapel system. It's super streamlined in general, and it's just like, hey, Jack moves, and then the Investigators move, maybe ask tokens, ask for clues. Next turn. I mean, nothing wrapped around here. It is pretty pure deduction, and I love that aspect, and they reused that system here. Now, it is an easier rule set because the original, Whitechapel had a lot more phases. A lot of this more cat and mouse as to where are my real cops, where are my fake cops, and Jack's going, where are the real women, where are the fake women? And it had a lot more things that were tougher to teach, tougher to understand what the ramifications were if you hadn't played it before. This did get rid of all that, and it's just the chase. So they streamlined all that out. They added the water and boat movement, which I thought was cool. Just a new thing to do, and having it thematically on one side of the board and stuff. And so I really liked that aspect of it. It definitely is not only just an easier rule set, but definitely more streamlined. It's tighter. So I like that aspect. Anytime you can streamline a game, I'm always a fan of that. Now, this map is very tight. The original one, I think, was a 6-panel board. This is a 4-panel board. And the map is a lot tighter. So it's going to do different things to the gameplay compared to its big brother. So it does give more consistent tension when you're Jack. I mean, you feel a lot more claustrophobic than you did in Whitechapel. So let's talk about the things I didn't like so much about it, and then I'll finally wrap it up with how I feel it compares to the original Whitechapel, which I love so much. So in the cons, I found that it wasn't really that much shorter than the original. Even though they've streamlined all that out, the box is 645 to 60. Yeesh, I've never done that. I mean, I think the shortest I've played this in is an hour and 15 minutes. Most of them are between an hour and 15 and 90 minutes. And I wouldn't say I'm like a slow player. I think that's probably, I feel like that's average. So, I was hoping it would be half or a little bit less than half time as it takes to play Whitechapel. This is like almost as much because it only usually takes me just over 90 minutes to play the original Whitechapel. So it's not that much less time. Next thing is, I felt like it's more volatile on the Investigator side because you only have 3 Investigators, not as many as you do in the original. Of course, the map is smaller, right? So supposedly that scales, but I felt like it was much more swingy where from the Investigator side, like you only have 3, and if you've got 1 really going where you think Jack is, you don't have as big of a net. Of course, the board's not as big either, but I felt like Jack could get surrounded, and if he's able to break through, you have like no more defense because there's only 3 of you, right? And so he can pretty much get to his next place, and then there's no going back to the posts like in the original one. So you're stuck maybe on the wrong side of the board, and you've got to bring things up. So I felt like this was a little bit more volatile. I also didn't like that it loses the arc of that multiple rounds, all trying to figure out where that is. It does sort of replace it with something it is interesting with, it's going to be one of the 4 grids. By the time they kill the 3rd one, the quadrant for sure, and it kind of feels like that too. This might sound odd, but I actually like the game as Jack better in this version because it is so tight and so consistently more stressful because the board is tighter, but I felt like it was more frustrating on the Investigator side. And it might seem like it contradicts themselves, but it's like the Investigators, I felt lost a lot more in this than I did in the regular one. Now, I found it to be still actually quite balanced in the end. From wins and losses in the ones that I've played. I've played both sides many times, and I did seem to find it balanced, but it's the feeling of feeling lost as the Investigators I didn't like as much. And I tend to play this as the Investigators because I like the deduction side. So I don't know. I'm definitely keeping it. It's getting a saxophone serenade, but whether or not, I mean, if I want to introduce somebody to hidden movement, I'll probably definitely use this first because it's a lot easier. And if they like it, then I'll probably play the Big Brother Whitechapel because I still like that one better as a whole. And it's not that much longer, but this one is a more distilled version. So I don't know. Usually, anytime you distill and streamline a game, I'm gonna like it better. In this case, maybe, I don't know. I still like the original better, I think. Mostly because the investigators feel very swingy and you can get lost real easily. But with that, it's still an excellent game, and that is Whitehall Mystery. So let's give it a saxophone serenade.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.